Hey everybody, and welcome to this ridiculously exciting core Q&A video. This is the series where we take your questions on Monty B about the development of the core and attempt to answer them as openly and honestly as possible. I'm Archie, and my co-conspirator in development of the core is Irby.
Hello!
We received so many questions, it's humbling. It's also really inconvenient for making a short, concise video, so a lot of these questions really deserve long, drawn-out answers, and we just don't have the time.
So, question 1. Tetsuo Show asks, Irby, why are you slowing the release down? Surely you're a more accomplished mapper than Archie. What gives?
What gives indeed, Irby? Seriously, I mean, come on. Moving house, having a baby, getting married, all that stuff. It just slows development of the core down, and frankly, it's pretty selfish.
Well, perfection takes time.
Second question is from Flipped Out Kiri. He asks, did you have any plans for new enemies or characters that had to be cut from the mod? If so, were there any cuts, whether they be levels or NPCs, that sadden you?
So in terms of characters and NPCs, not really any that have been cut. Definitely levels-wise, the training section comes to mind. I think we've cut and restarted the training section about 3 times. I'm working on the 3rd version now. That's actually what I'm primarily focusing on. And it's more of a sort of pre-disaster area.
Mostly it has been bad puzzles or things that Gold Source simply couldn't manage. There was a map in particular, actually, the original laboratory map. I found this photo online. It's just the most ridiculously cool concept art you've ever seen. And yeah, I started building it, and then after about 2 days, had the basic structure down, hit compile, and Gold Source, I mean, it just punched me straight through the monitor, just bam, right in the face. And I deserved it, because it was ridiculous.
Jeff Mod asks, after all the years of development, all the restarts and new iterations of various maps, and all the new ideas and methods you've tried out, what is the absolute most important thing or technique you've learned from working on the core?
Yeah, I completely sort of transformed as a mapper over the development of this, to the extent that all my original chapters have been completely remade to meet new standards. And it's just, if you work on a project of this scale, and working with a mapper as good as Irby as well, because I'm constantly comparing my work to his work, I'm just looking at things that he's doing, really often minuscule little things that he's doing in levels. I'm just, oh my god, that's genius, why didn't I think of that? And so I've started incorporating them and just learned so much. I mean, I've literally been working on this for 5 years at this point. Obviously, I've learned just a shit ton.
If you can, definitely look into working with a team. To this day, I've never actually completed a project by myself, but with Archie on the team and a couple of other guys who've sort of pitched in and helped to work out a bit, that's really driven me to get it finished. And for sort of, they've kept me on the straight and narrow, as it were, because I had a tendency to work on a project for a while, then move on to a completely different project, and the original project would then get completely forgotten about and deleted. With the core and with working with the team, that's prevented that from happening, basically.
Crypt asks, of all your work on the project, is there a specific bit you're particularly proud of above all else?
Yes. I was going to just move on, but I won't. I answered this question last time. I said that I was really liking the way that the dormitory chapter that I was working on was shaping up. I was quite happy with the way it was going, and now that I've finished it, there's obviously some polish to go through and sort out scripting events and all sorts of things like that, and there's a few areas that I'm redesigning, but it's still probably my favourite section out of all the ones I've worked on, and I think it's come out really well.
I think we had a question very similar to this in the previous Q&A video, and my answer involved a tram, I believe, and my answer this time round is actually the same map, but now a different moment in the same map. And Irby will know what I'm talking about, and he'll have a wee smirk listening to this back. Because basically it was like 4 AM, I'd been working on the core for like 6 hours that day, completely burned out. I think I was perhaps a little on the drunk side of things. And yeah, I just kind of had this thought come to me, and like that voice in my head was like, no, you can't, it's literally too ridiculous, don't do that, it's stupid. And then like 10 minutes later I opened my eyes and I'd done it and I compiled it, and it was just hilarious and awesome, and honestly, it's like one of the most fun moments in the mod now, and it's stupid. It's so unbelievably stupid. And if you think about it too much, you'll just be like, what are you thinking about, Archie? That's ridiculous. And I don't care, because it's really fun. I'm very proud of it. And I think that's true of most things I do when I'm drunk. It's not.
Rimrock asks, what is your strategy for these dates? 2 months prior to release, keep working on the core. 1 month prior to release, keep working on the core. 2 weeks prior to release, hastily work on the core. Day of release, drink heavily.
Day of release, I'm going to ignore the internet completely. I'm going to go up north, I'm going to get in a kayak, I'm going to smoke a J, I'm going to put some earphones in, and I'm just going to pretend that the world does not exist.
2 weeks after release, see how the reviews are going.
I hope they're going to be positive. I don't know how I'll handle it if they're not. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not like such a proud asshole that I can't take criticism, but man, I hope it's good. I really hope it's good.
1 month after release, completely move on from Gold Source forever. 1 year after release, reminisce about that shit mod we made that one time.
1 month after, 1 year, who knows? I don't know. Dead in a ditch, probably. Lucky Triple Smile, good name. How many head crabs will there be?
The Jones asks, are you going to allow people to use your mod's content with their mod? With proper credits, of course. I'm more than happy for people to take the stuff I've made and use it on their mod.
Yeah, absolutely. We're very likely to release a lot of the project files, as well as the mod itself. So RMFs, WADs, PSDs if it comes to it, I would encourage that massively.
GamerDude27 asks, what will you do when it comes to digital distribution? Will we ever see the core on platforms such as Steam? There's no plan to release it officially on Steam, namely because we use a lot of third-party content, and although we have permission to use it, I don't really think we have permission to distribute it in that method.
And I know many of the artists we've approached would be thrilled to see it on Greenlight, but there's some that just aren't active in the community anymore, and I doubt it's ever going to be possible. Sadly, I think it would be a really good idea, but...
Owlblack, I think, asks, can you put this on Steam? This mod deserves a larger audience.
No, sorry. USB Pet Rock, how many pixels are there in the core? I am expecting at least 3.5.
Same as headcrabs. There is a 1-to-1 headcrab pixel ratio.
I can't promise 3.5 pixels. I will guarantee 2, but anything higher than that is pure speculation. I don't wish to divulge any more information than that at this time.
Red Slug asks, scrolling through the screenshots mainly shows
The amazing, thank you, level design.
I'm kind of curious about the weapon arsenal. The soldiers are carrying the M4, known from the HD pack. Can we expect a weapons overhaul, models, textures, sound-wise for the player? Maybe even completely new types. So the screenshots with the M4 featured are actually out of date. We've actually gone back to the M16 using Romka's models, and it no longer shares ammunition with the pistol because we know that's quite a big pet peeve among the community, and we basically didn't want that to be the case, so we've done away with it. So the pistol and the M16 use completely different ammo types now. There is another melee weapon that's been added as well, so it's not a complete weapons overhaul. Every weapon does have a new model to obviously match the quality of the mod that we've already laid out. But yeah, it's largely the same arsenal. There are a few additions. We don't want to go into too much detail about anything else on that front. Mr. Ganang.
Mr. Ganang. Where do you draw your inspiration from, especially in terms of location and aesthetics? Are you looking to real-life locations, or is the level design influenced by gameplay?
So it's a little bit of both. I base a lot of my areas on photographs and...
It's usually places we've worked, places that we've visited. I always carry a camera around with... I mean, everyone carries a camera around with them these days. It's a bloody phone. And I love going to explore cool places, cool buildings and stuff. And yeah, just taking photos all the time. It doesn't have to be like you don't have to map an entire room, exactly as it is. But if there's a cool detail, why not take it? There's a bridge support in particular. So magnificent highway. I can't even remember where it was. Not an overly complicated structure, but it looks really nice. There's a real artistry to the design of it. And yeah, I blatantly stole it and put it in one of my maps.
I do take gameplay into account, obviously. Some areas I just build purely based on gameplay and then add detail later.
So yeah, just take elements, cool elements, generally. You don't want to take bland elements. And fill in the gaps that the design for the gameplay has left. That vaguely makes sense, yeah. Offensive Mouse asks, what are your plans for this mod, and where are you planning to go with it?
So the plans for this mod are basically to finish it and release it.
Dimbark asks, does the mod have any boss fights, and if so, how do they deviate from your normal standard Half-Life boss fight?
So there's a couple of boss fights in the mod so far, and both of those have been revamped several times and are still in the process of being revamped.
I wouldn't say they deviate from the formula of not being very combat-centric. They're more about puzzle solving around the boss. So in that way, they're not deviating from Half-Life, but they're original puzzles. We haven't just ripped off Half-Life. But you do have to use your environment to take out the bosses rather than just, watching a health bar go down, because who has time for that? Come on.
It's not just a case of, here is a big thing, it has more health than the other things, shoot the big thing more to make the big thing die, because that's dull.
Slarty Barty, what inspired you to create and release a Half-Life mod? Nothing. I wanted Irby to finish it so we could work on better things, so I decided to help him. And now it's 5 years later and I'm trapped. Please help me. Help me.
So when I started out back in 2008, it was just other great mods that were out at the time that inspired me. Things like Poke 646, They Hunger, USS Darkstar, any Black Mesa themed mod, I'll play it from start to finish, regardless of how terrible it is. And then I feel that as a player and as a modder, I learn from that experience. I just basically wanted to make a mod that people would enjoy.
Dr. Hammer, are you planning on giving your YouTube channel some more love? Any plans at all on that front? I would love to. I would really love to do more with the SNC Games channel. There's a couple of videos up there that I'm really proud of, that I think are very funny. And it's just a time thing.
Mother Fuvka asks, previously you've stated that the recommended video setting for this mod is OpenGL. What exactly does this mean in terms of how the mod will look? And are the same effects present in OpenGL, those sexy lens flares we saw, going to transfer over to Direct 3D? Keep up the good work, love your mapping. Thank you very much, so do we. The game should look the same regardless of which 3D setting you use. Probably
not in software mode. Software is just... Even Half-Life itself looks a bit dodgy in software rendering. D3D should be fine. We're not testing it extensively, or to be honest at the moment, we're not testing it at all in D3D. But it should be, there's no reason why it wouldn't work. But definitely best experience is going to be in OpenGL. Why fix what's not broken, Stick with OpenGL.
Jesse asks, I'm curious about the cohesion of your team. What's the biggest dispute or disagreement you've had during development, and how did you resolve it?
I don't know. We don't tend to disagree on very much. Normally, if there's... it's not even an argument. If there's something that we're discussing, we'll just talk it through, and generally the better ideas will come through, and the worst ideas will slink back into the background, and maybe they'll come back later in a different form.
We've never really had a massive dispute or a massive disagreement about anything. We usually discuss things and then decide, maybe instead of this you could do this, and okay, yeah, sure, I'll get to work on that and get it working that way. That's definitely a better idea. Thank you for your input. Blah blah blah.
So yeah, no, we get on great. Tell each other when it's shit. Tell each other when it's good. It works. It works.
EXU Scully asks, I really want to know if the core after the full release will receive an official expansion or map pack.
Open parentheses.
I know how hard it is to make a mod like this.
Close parentheses.
Because every time I see these Barneys with these digital scouters, I imagine an expansion like this with an awesome cyber HUD which displays enemy info or recognises friendly faces. It would be awesome. That's a very long sentence. Consider grammar. Once we're done with the core, we're done with the core.
Scully172. When is it going to be released?
When it's finished. Glitchy Mers asks, what was your greatest challenge in level design?
I mean, this is a really boring answer, but it is just getting over Gold Source's restrictions, limits.
It's a bit cliche to say this, but Gold Source.
Alloc Block Full. I hate Alloc Block Full. It's just so disheartening when you're trying to be creative and you just hit this wall of, nah, computer says no. So yeah, biggest challenge. Because you do something like that, you work on a map for weeks, you put your blood, sweat and tears into it, you're really proud of it, it's looking amazing, and then you add one more door and it just destroys the whole thing and you have to start ripping out detail in order to get the gameplay to work.
Yeah, the biggest obstacle has been the engine we are using because it's dated and sometimes the simplest thing can be a massive challenge.
Zulcro, will this mod also available on Steam? No. No, it won't. The Unbeholden, can we expect any Easter eggs? Any hints on what they will be?
Definitely. We love including Easter eggs in all our maps. We have hidden locations, we have references, we have parodies, all sorts.
Jobama asks, how do you think you will feel about the end product? Do you think you will feel like it was a waste of time working on the project or time well spent? Waste of time. Absolute fucking waste of time.
Definitely a massive waste of time. As I said, no one's hiring people based on what they can do with an engine from 16 years ago.
Adelina1985A. About the creation process behind a certain area, do you have everything planned out from the get-go, I guess? Or do you start from a rough idea and get inspired or improvise as you go along? Weirdly enough, we don't actually have a very strict process with this.
We work from photos in some places and inspiration from other games and movie sets and so on. Gameplay is obviously a massive focus.
More often than not, I'll get halfway through a map and go, oh, it'd be really cool if this happened here. And then I'll just do that instead. And yeah, I don't know. No real science to it.
The Ed Vinazard asks, can we expect the core RMFs? We need to discuss this.
Very, very likely.
BioDestroyer asks, what would you guys say to people thinking about modding HL1? People that want to make big mods like the core, be it a person that has some experience in Gold Source or not. As I said before, consider working with a team. Definitely join a community, because they can teach you a lot. I say go for it. Gold Source is an old engine, but I think people can still do great things with it.
There are better, well, is better the word? There are more sensible alternatives. However, Gold Source mapping, it's simple, it's very easy to get into. But join a community, getting good with people that have made mods, because they can probably give you some decent tips. Ogdred, seeing how good the graphics are, thank you. Or, I can't help but think the mod might not be very potato friendly. Is this the case? I personally have tested the mod at various stages of development on a rather old laptop and on my work PC, which is a dual core processor and onboard graphics card, which basically means no graphics card. And I haven't noticed any issues. It's certainly going to be more demanding than Half-Life was, because it's 2015. I guess if you're running a computer from like 1995, you might struggle, but it should be fine. Last Life Official says, hi guys, I think the important question would be, what's going to happen to Scotch and Coffee Studios after the release of the core? Cheers. Probably go our separate ways, or battle to the death. Savvy467, do you plan on using the modified Zash 3D engine to increase the capabilities of the game, or it'll keep towards a more vanilla Half-Life experience within the engine's limited capabilities? I say we, I'm not going to speak for RB. I hate those mods. I appreciate that a lot of work goes into them, but what's the point? Just either like build an engine yourself or use a modern engine. Why slap stupid looking effects into a really old engine? It's like you lose all of what makes the Gold Source engine charming, and it doesn't look very good in the end anyway. So I just don't see the point myself. Sorry. Feep.
Feep. Will the mod feature a fight against a gargantua? Possibly.
Oh no, you've snuck in some extra questions here.
Do you expect players to get stuck at certain points while playing the mod? Definitely.
Yes. Ever tried modding while drunk?
Yes, it was terrible. I think everything that was added got deleted the next morning.
Yes, my best maps are all based on alcohol. P.S. I love Irby's terrible mod reviews on YouTube. So do I. He's very good at it.
Thank you. I might add more when the core's out and I can review the core because it's a terrible mod.
Drug bugs. All this mod is Half-Life, but in another character's perspective, lol. Waste of time? Oh, and sure, it's going to be totally different. They always say, but I doubt that. We've never said that. It's going to be a lot like Half-Life. We love Half-Life. That's what we're aiming for. Yeah, it's that story from another character's perspective. It is a waste of time. I have said all these things in previous answers already, in fact. Absolute fucking waste of time. So you hit the nail on the head, my friend.
Alberto309 says, what kind of things would you have liked to achieve on the core, but you can't due to engine limitations? Bigger environments, physics. I would have loved to include physics in some way, shape or form, whether it be objects or ragdolls or so on.
Alongside the complete RMFs, our legacy, what we're calling sort of legacy files. So you'll be able to see most of what's been cut out. That's partly because a lot of it we worked fucking hard on, and it's really annoying to just not let anyone ever see it. But also I think it should hopefully be quite cool for you guys to see things that we maybe had planned and didn't work out.
Gold Source. Who knew? We all knew. Foreskin Jim. Nice. Given the nature of most of your postings, can we assume this mod will have its fair share of comic relief? Yeah, I guess so.
Nope. It's super serious from start to finish. Don't expect any laughs, any jokes, or any fun.
Tech Mech asks, do you feel a lot of pressure with an active and eager following?
Yes, this is 100% why the mod is not out yet. We're terrified of you guys.
We've said before that we're doing everything we can to make this the best for you guys who are going to be playing it. We never expected it to get this big, and it's pretty humbling.
That's not a bad thing. Like, the mod is going to be better because of it, but no, I mean, we are scared of you guys.
Mr. Dedicated, good on you, asks, will there be any Easter eggs or secrets in the core? Answer, above, or backtrack. I answered that. Will there be alternate endings?
Alternate endings, no. Legacy endings, but not in the actual game.
Thanos HLD?
Thanos Shield. Thanos Shield.
Thanoshlud? Will you include any hints about the Neolinth, the G-Man, and or the Combine? Like Neolinth when he said,
we are their slaves, and for you he waits.
According to your theories and your interpretations, of course.
Our story focuses more on the human aspect, and we're looking much more into the science team, what they're doing during the disaster, and also the military, and in particular their higher-ups and why they made the decisions they made.
The G-Man appears from time to time.
And that's more of the direction we've tried to explore rather than Zen and the Combine.
27 Spicy asks, what inspired you the most to make this game? Other mods set in the Half-Life universe. Answered that before.
Tuscan Penner. Will there be any parallels or references to the original game or its expansions? Loads. We're trying to, settle it into the same universe as much as possible.
Adventure Core asks, can you make NPCs more HD realistic? No.
If you go too far, it just takes it out of the universe that the rest of the game is set in, and creates a very inconsistent visual style, which we're not aiming for.
100 gram _ says, I'm not aiming for t-shirt, I'm asking because I'm curious. How much of free time have you spent on this project, and how did you distribute the workload?
We've spent so much time on this. Workload wise, it was a sort of 50-50 split, but it became clear that Irby's better at some things, I'm better at other things. And certainly more recently, I've actually taken more of a producer role.
Hey Zeus asks, this is the question I always ask when something Half-Life related is coming up. Will there be a cold beer for us at the end of all this? I mean, Barney promised he wouldn't have any reason to lie to us, right? Right? It's been 17 years. There'd better be a cold beer for me at the end of all this.
The Skunk asks, how much priority does the core take up in your everyday life? Do you ever find yourself missing out on social gatherings, etc. because you feel the need to work on the mod? Yeah, I'll admit it's a little embarrassing, but there's been times when, you know, I have made plans and then come whatever that night is, I'm sitting working on the core and the hours tick by and I go, oh shit, like I'm meant to be here, I'm meant to be somewhere right now.
I definitely do need to work on the mod. I've never missed a social gathering because of it. It takes up a very small portion of my free time, which is why it's taking so long to come out. I have a job, I have a family. It's really low on my priorities list. I have a gaming addiction to deal with, it's terrible.
I haven't felt obligated to work on the core instead of doing something else. But I mean, it might have to come to that eventually, but not yet, thankfully.
Carlos Carlin asks, do you see yourselves working on another mod for Half-Life or any other game once you finish this one? Definitely. Definitely not for Half-Life. That's done. Maybe for Source or Source 2.
I'm going to take a pretty long break from any sort of big projects like this. I'm sure I'll probably still do a couple maps, maybe a couple of Counter-Strike Go maps or something. But a big project like this, no, this will do for now, thank you very much.
There'll definitely be something on our YouTube channel if you follow us there.
And despite us asking for only one question, of course Dr. Hammer has to come along and ask all of them. So here we have the Dr. Hammer bonus round.
Ding, ding, ding. But you've already asked a question. Fuck it, let's get into it. Did you guys argue about whether to name yourselves Scotch and Coffee or Coffee and Scotch? No, it was always Scotch and Coffee.
Or was another name debated altogether? No.
If you made a sequel to The Core, would it be called The Core's Core? No, it's been discussed. There's another name in the pipeline.
Speaking of sequels, are you guys excited about Source 2? Very much so, it looks amazing.
Any plans to develop with it? Hell, maybe.
What about UE4 now that it's free? Probably not.
I wouldn't know where to start. But I guess that's what the internet's for.
What other upcoming releases are you guys looking forward to?
Now, when this Q&A originally went out, I was looking forward to Sui Generis. I'm not sure of the pronunciation, but it's a physics-based sword fighting game. Indie release, quite a way off as far as I know. That was before Fallout 4 was announced and shown at E3. That is basically all I'm looking forward to now.
I guarantee you Irby will answer that question exactly the same way. Fallout. What were some of the hardest custom assets you had to make for the core?
We haven't really had any trouble making custom assets.
Is asking that going to spoil anything? No. Am I asking too many questions? Yep.
How many questions am I allowed to ask? 1. Will asking more questions improve my chance of winning the shirt? No.
Is it a nice shirt? I think so. Can I have it? No.
How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could operate heavy machinery? About 7.
And where in the world is Carmen Sandiego?
Check in San Diego.
Do either of you know the way to San Jose?
No, but it's probably on Google Maps.
Whose line is it anyway? It's Irby's. Here he is.
If you were to meet yourselves in a parallel universe and were forced to battle to the death in order to please commune our tea, would you... I've got so many questions, I just crave knowledge. So I'm going to go because my feet are falling asleep. But thanks for watching and thanks for your questions, and we hope you enjoy the core when it's out in...
That was a lot of questions. I'm sweaty from answering questions, or it could be these lights, because I have noticed it is now dark outside. It wasn't when I started. Big congratulations to Jeff Mod, who won our t-shirt competition. He wins a t-shirt very similar to this one. Hope you enjoyed the video, hope it gave you an insight into the complete mess that is me and Irby's development style. We always hugely appreciate the time you guys give us, asking these questions, leaving comments, letting us know if we're doing a good job or not. That stuff is just so encouraging, and when we've been working on it for this long, we can take all the encouragement we can get, trust me. So sincerely, bottom of my heart, thank you so much for that. I really hope this thing is as good as you guys deserve, because you've just been the most amazing community following us for this long. So sorry that we don't have the mod. Once again, time is slipping. We have no download link to give you. It's shit, but yeah, it's hopefully going to be worth it in the end.